I was studying in my office in South Bend, Indiana, and thinking about how I was transformed across the years, and people told me who I was. And I was thinking there is more to it than the list of cartooning or the list that was redone by Milton Erickson. And I thought, what is it? And it just so happened I was reading books on World War II, and I noticed a phrase that Hitler used, the judgment of history. Like he was a great orator, spellbinding. He scared everybody because he could project his scare on everybody else. But he'd say, we need Lebensraum, which means living space, which gave him the permission to go into Poland and Czechoslovakia and elsewhere. And he made a fool of himself when we went into Russia. But he said, the judgment of history is that we need Lebensraum, living space. And then I was reading along and I saw, darn if Winston Churchill didn't use the same phrase, the judgment of history. And he would borrow from Shakespeare, and he would say, this England, the judgment of history is this England will never bow at the feet of a conqueror. I thought, the judgment of history, was that used on me and my growth as a person to have me believe certain things? And then I just happened to chance on, darn it, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the President of the United States at that time. And he used the phrase, judgment of history. And I thought, you know, people would say history says, or history declares, or history shows us. And I thought, because I was a little more mature than I was when I was brainwashed with these sweeping nouns, I thought, you know, history doesn't teach us much. Now, you can justify anything in history. If history teaches us anything, it's that 90% of the people are irrational, and progress only occurs by creative people and brave people who take a risk and introduce something. They're less than 10% of the population, and that's the way history progress goes forward. Another term that would be used on me was the word science. Science says. This was said with great power. And then I thought back, you know, what we get from science is a process, the empirical thing. Check out some system, some observation, make a generalization, enforce it with a lot of data, submit it to other people to look at, and then we will see whether or not your hypothesis, your guess, so to speak, is valid. But the word science can be used in a global fashion. So I thought, you know, what got me was that somebody would come on with an authority and tell me what the Bible says. That's another big noun, when actually the word Bible means books. It's not, you couldn't say the books say. I mean, that doesn't make sense. But somebody would say that to me and it would brainwash me about some generalization. So I thought, you know, one of the ways they did it is they spoke with great authority. And I wonder if there's a way to fashion language when you get the authority transference. Like a grandmother. A kid will think mom's powerful, dad's powerful, but my goodness, their mother and father must be even more powerful. So a grandmother or a grandfather is given, by the very state of getting older, a lot of power. The child gives them the authority transference. So with that in mind, I began to develop, and I went through all my books, the so-called nonfiction books, that a lot of them are fictional because of the funny use of language. Evidently, Laurie Cartoon had sunk into me more than I realized with linguistics. But one thing I realized as I went through my books and as I sifted through them to figure out how language was used in this powerful way was that these people were also transforming self-image. I didn't know who I was as a young boy in Sunday school, so if they told me the Bible says in my powerful way, well, that minister is speaking for God. Here, innocent little me is looking up at the pulpit, and that minister is speaking for God, and it must be true. The Bible says. Or if I go to a class in biology in high school, and the teacher said, science says, I would just kind of accept it. And so I realized the first thing we got to do is get the authority transference, and then you're able to implant powerfully. We go back to the priest and Les Miserables. The policeman, when he said that Jean Valjean, hi, my friend, the policeman believed him. Jean Valjean was shocked, and that's why what the priest said sunk in. So I've introduced authority presuppositions with one thing. It is, if you are a loving person, and if you have self-images that are beautiful to implant, and I do talk about those, I give a whole list of those in my book of presuppositions, tell them who they are. It's available at Amazon. I give a whole list of positive gold that you can implant to help somebody along life's way. You are not creating sycophants, obedient little puppies like I was as a kid. You are creating a soul. You are working for their liberation. And that is what liberation psychotherapy is all about.